All of you know how much I love fun, bad movies. To date, Moonfall is still the most entertaining film I've ever seen because it is a beautiful disaster of a movie. $100 million budget and not a single thing about it is even close to being good. It's amazing for all the wrong reasons, and it is one of the most entertaining films ever constructed by our species. So I have a huge passion for fun, bad films, so I was very excited to see Meg 2 today because I watched the first Meg. It's nothing special, but it's enjoyable and it's very silly and it's, of course, a bit stinky. It's a movie about Jason Statham hunting down a megalodon shark, so of course it's going to be a bit goofy. And Meg 2 was rolling around and I expected it'd be a lot of the same. Some stinkiness, some silliness, put him in a pot and create a wonderful stew out of it and put a smile on Charles's face. And to a certain extent it did. But it's also legitimately one of the stupidest movies I've watched in quite some time, and in a lot of ways, it's dumber than Moonfall. And I don't say that lightly. To say something is stupider than Moonfall is a bold claim that you need empirical evidence to back up. That's a claim that's bordering on insanity to say out loud. But I mean it, and I'll prove it here when I break down Meg 2 for you. So, of course, there's going to be spoilers here. I'm just going to rip the band-aid off right now. I don't think you're really going to watch Meg 2 for the story. I don't think anyone's going to this film for the narrative. You know, no one's watching porn for the plot, and no one's watching Meg 2 for the character relationship and the overarching plot. A plot that is so fucking simple, I legitimately think Ed from Ed, Edd n Eddy made it after eating 5 slabs of buttered toast. It is baffling that this actually even made it into the film. It should have just been a montage of shark carnage and Jason Statham going, "What's up, chum?" and then kicking people into the shark. That's an actual line from the movie, by the way. Like, it would have been better if that's the direction they went. But unfortunately, the biggest sin this movie commits is it is boring for about 80% of it. 80% of this movie isn't spent on megalodons or action or characters fighting against megalodons. For some reason, they made the first 80% a fucking soulless, garbage, poorly written, embarrassing, corporate corruption conspiracy mystery movie. And that's using a very generous term for it, because calling this a mystery in the first 80% is an insult to the English language. It's more like a pistory, because it belongs in a toilet. So, the first 80% is dedicated to explaining the world now. There's a very expensive expedition group that's led by Jason Statham, and they do these deep dives into a trench that has these megalodons roaming around, and they're separated from the rest of the ocean thanks to this barrier that they can't cross. There's a very strong jutsu, and the megalodons aren't allowed to either enter or exit, but this team that Jason Statham is a part of is financially backed by tons and tons of doubloons, so many clams. They have so much money. They have a lot of very powerful people financing it, and they also have a megalodon in captivity that they're training and raising like a pet to understand a bit more about megalodons as a whole. Now, the team is about to go on a routine dive. They've done, I think, 26 successful missions or something like that. And this was supposed to be just another standard trip, but things went a bit awry. Now, there's another passenger aboard this ship, this giant, complex, and it's a child that Jason Statham is raising and teaching, and she's a genius. She's a 14-year-old super genius, fucking Jimmy Neutron level intellect, and she sneaks aboard the expedition vehicle with Jason Statham and the team, which he's very upset about. He's like, "This is very not good. I'm very disappointed that you've done this. We're turning this ship around." But then they're like, "No, we'll just press forward." And so they do. He didn't take a whole lot to convince them. But while they're doing that, that megalodon they have in captivity breaks out. And do you want to know how it breaks out? Well, because there was like a single metal grate, like a single metal cheese grater that was supposed to stop a fucking megalodon, an absolute monster. So it just easily breaks through with literally no effort, and we're supposed to be shocked that it did this. I don't understand how, because it was basically just a single piece of construction paper that separated the megalodon from the rest of the world. So that right there was already extremely lazy to me. They could have had some kind of cool plot, like showcasing the megalodon being really smart, like, the Megalodon set a trap, it played dead, it went belly up. So when they went in there to check on the Megalodon's heartbeat, it fucking mauled them all and then escaped. Maybe it grew wings and flew away. I don't know. Just anything besides it went through a basically open tunnel that we didn't think about. So as they're going on this dive, the Megalodon that they had in captivity starts chasing them, and they're like, how is that possible? We've got to dive deeper. It's the only way to escape it. So they dive deeper, then they eventually go into the very deepest part of the trenches, and they're speculating on if they should just abandon the mission because this is already not going according to plan. So Jason Statham's like, should really abort mission. And even the main, base is like, yeah, probably a good idea. This is already totally off book here. Let's just get the fuck out. But the actual owner of the company, the whole enterprise, is like, no, this is a really good opportunity to explore. We're explorers, god damn it, this is what we do. And our Megalodon came down here because she wants to mate. It's mating season for Megalodons, and I'm fucking horny. We're gonna go watch. And they're like, well, if you say so, shucks. So they continue to go deeper into the trenches, and then they stumble upon an underwater base. And I shit you not, for about 10 minutes, I really thought they were about to bring Atlantis into this. They were like, oh my god, there's an underwater base here. This is so weird. Wait, I'm getting heat signatures. There's living creatures on that base. And I was like, oh my god, they're going to do Atlanteans here. Oh, this is going to be incredible. But they don't. It turns out there was a different company, a shadow organization that had the same access to the technology they did, and they had this underground base that this team of good guys, the explorers, stumbled upon. And this is where the corporate conspiracy starts to unfold. They start wondering, how is that possible? We're 25,000 feet deep. No one has access to this kind of shit except us. What's going on here? There's fishy business, and I'm not liking the smell. So then we get to go into one of the bad guys' submersibles, and he's like, oh, they stumbled upon us. There's only one option. And then the guys, there's like a team of 3, and 2 of the guys are in these like underwater, fucking Gundam suits, and they're like mining away at barnacles, and they're like, no, don't do it, wait, no, don't do it. He's like, I've got to do it, they've seen us. And they're like, no, please don't. And he just blows everything up, including himself. He doesn't die from it, spoilers, but he blows everything up in the trenches, which blows up the barrier, like the genjutsu that keeps all of the Megalodons in the trenches. So he blows that shit up. He blows up the heroes' submarines and everything. And then they're in a big scramble because they can't escape now because their submarines are fried. So they get into these high-pressure suits, and they start making the walk on foot from the crash site of the explosion all the way to that base that they identified. Now, just to put you in the right headspace here, it's a fucking snooze fest. And it's already been like 30 or 35 minutes by this point, so it's a slow burn. Meg 2 puts the Megalodons in the back seat. It puts them as like sidekicks. Like they have cameos in this movie, basically, because they spend the first 80% with this garbage here. It's so fucking boring. But anyway, the explorers with Jason Statham and the child and everyone else get in touch with the main base, like, hey, we're gonna need that rescue submarine. Shit went tits up down here, and we need a little help. This one lunatic blew us to kingdom come. Blew us to high heavens. Our submarines don't work anymore. Come get us. And they're like, we're on it. Actually, scratch that. We can't. Somebody sabotaged our rescue sub. And now you can see all of the complex narrative plot devices coming into play. So then they have to figure out who sabotaged it. So naturally, they check the surveillance cameras. But it turns out our culprit was smart enough to turn off all of the surveillance cameras. But what they didn't realize is they had built in a fail-safe security camera system. So they go and check that. And it's revealed that our man on the inside, our evil person on the good guys' team, is a girl named Jess. And she's evil because she wants money. She says that she's doing it because she wants more money than she could ever possibly care about, where money loses all meaning to her. So it turns out what they were doing down there on that base is they were mining rare earth minerals. And I shit you not, when they go into the base, one of the main guys is like, what is this? And he's like, oh wait, this is rare earth minerals. He literally says it's rare earth minerals. And it's like, they're probably using this for superconductors, which is good for quantum computation devices as well as all kinds of transportation. This is very important stuff. No doubt this one crystal I'm holding in my hand is worth $1 billion. And Jason Statham's like, billion? With a B? Like, I think I'm actually quoting this verbatim. I'm pretty sure I've got this right on the money if you check the script. And he's like, yes, with a B. And then that's when Jess is like, billions of dollars are at stake here. And then it gets even bigger because it turns out Jess isn't the only person working on the inside. The main girl who's financing all of this, the big CEO super powerhouse who gave a speech in the very beginning of the movie about how proud she is of this company, she is the one who's pulling all of the strings. She's the puppet master and everyone else is just the marionette on the strings dancing for her. And she's like, why aren't they dead yet? What's going on? So, I want to pause real quick because I'm probably overstimulating your brains right now. I want to point out a huge plot hole that I can't believe no one on the team recognized. The way that this is conveyed is that this is all part of the plan. What they wanted to do is kill everybody on board that main base, or rather, they wanted to kill everyone on board those subs. That was the plan from the get-go, I believe, unless I missed a crucial detail. But even Jess, who was one of the core team members, advised that they pull out of the mission when the child was on board the submarine. She's like, okay, yeah, things are a little off course, should probably pull out. So if their plan was to kill them, why would she advise that? Plus, there was no plan in place. The only reason this went so wrong is because the Megalodon unexpectedly broke out. None of this was planned or orchestrated. And the only reason there was ever an explosion in the trenches is because they accidentally stumbled upon that secret base and mining operation because they were trying to watch some sharks fuck. Like, all of it was pure happenstance. None of this was planned, and yet every step of the way, that evil lady CEO's like, you know, why aren't they dead yet? We've talked about this. You sabotaged the rescue vehicle, did you not? How could they still be alive? As if it was all part of the plan. Even though there was clearly no fucking plan. The whole plot falls apart, like, if you think about it for more than 3 seconds. And another thing, why the fuck would the owner of the company that has the access to the technology, is actively doing dives and everything, why would they even bother having a separate, shady organization that's doing the same thing but then collecting rare earth minerals? Like, they're making billions of dollars off the rare earth minerals, but they could also still be doing that with the explorer team. They could just say, like, hey, we're also going to send a mining team down with you. Like, I don't think anyone would care. This is a completely separate from the rest of the world region where they're just mining rare earth minerals no one else has ever seen or had access to before. The explorer team would actually probably be pretty excited about that because it's more information and more knowledge for them. Like, they get to take in these things and learn about them. So I don't even understand the nefarious need to have, like, an evil group alongside your normal group. You could have just merged them together without any of the evilness. You could have just been like, alright, and now bring me back some fucking barnacles. They're super barnacles. Those are turbocharged magic barnacles. So let's just get a few of those and we can sell them and continue to finance these expeditions. And I don't think anyone would bat an eye. Like, I don't understand what the conflict even was to even have them as a group in this movie in the first place. There's a single throwaway line that I think is what they tried to get across, and it's from Jason Statham. He said that you're doing this for money. So I guess that's what made it inherently bad and needed to be split away from the expedition group, even though all of their expeditions are also for money. Like, they were also a profit-driven organization too. So it was like a really weird dynamic there. And then there was one line from the evil CEO who said, we can destroy the planet from underneath the trench and no one would ever know. We'll destroy all of it and sell it all for billions of dollars, is basically what her monologue said. And it's like, okay, but also, we never had access to that before. So you're right, no one would know, and you're not really destroying the planet. They were literally chipping away some of the, like, crystals on the side of things. It wasn't like deforestation underwater. It was like actually a very small scale operation with only like a handful of crystals. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal, really. So they did a horrible job of showcasing why the bad guys are doing what they're doing in the first place. So now let's get back to the plot. So they're walking from their destroyed submarines and their high-pressure Power Ranger suits to go to their base that they found and then take escape pods to get to the surface. And along the way, things get messy. There's like some deep-sea creatures with some sharp teeth that start biting them. So our people start shooting back with their spear guns. One guy gets abducted by a giant squid and he dies. You don't see it. It's all off screen. Another girl gets eaten by a shark, a megalodon. You don't see it. This is a PG-13 movie, so they don't show any of like the carnage or anything. So pretty much every death in this movie is either off screen or cut away from right away, which doesn't make any sense for a fucking movie about sharks killing people and killing sharks in return. Such a huge blunder. I understand why it's PG-13 because it's more profitable to do that because it's more accessible to people, but it still takes all of the wind out of the sails of every single action moment, of which there is very few in this movie. So they're going on this, journey from their subs to the base. They lose everyone along the way except for 4 people. Of course, the main 4, Jason Statham, the kid, the main guy behind the operation, and then another girl who was a big part of the team. So they make it to the base. Then that guy who blew everyone up cements himself as like the primary antagonist who's going to keep clashing with Jason Statham. So they end up fighting on this base. Jess reveals herself to be the person on the inside who's pulling on the strings. She traps them in that base and tries to drown them, but Jason Statham swims, I shit you not, swims with no gear from the place where they were drowning outside of the base to hit the emergency override button and save everyone. He is swimming with no gear at 25,000 feet. Nothing, very few things rather, can fucking survive at 25,000 feet under the sea. And at the very bottom of the list of things that could maybe survive, humans are there. Humans cannot. Fucking everything blows up under that immense pressure. We have never even seen something that deep. And yet, Jason Statham, powered by testosterone and a deep voice, is able to just man mode it and fucking swim like a goddamn angelic mermaid. Just Olympic swim at 25,000 feet deep to save the crew. And they try and give an explanation for it, but I swear to God, I had to wiggle my finger and say, no way, that's horseradish. No shot. Their explanation was something like, as long as he inhales enough water into his sinuses, it will equalize his internal pressure to resist the water pressure and he'll be able to be just fine. I don't have a degree in marine biology, but there's no fucking way, right? Like, there's no way you could inhale enough water into your sinuses to somehow resist the pressure at 25,000 feet deep. There's just no fucking shot, right? Like, I just don't think so. But anyway, he does. He saves everyone. He then fights the main bad guy again down there, who, for some reason, lets Jason Statham live. Jason Statham passed out after saving everyone, and the main bad guy saves him, and he's like, I was in jail for 2 years because of you. I've been waiting for this moment to kill you. And it's like, brother, you could have just let him die in front of you. Like, I'm sure that probably would have been fulfilling for your revenge arc. Or, if you wanted to be more hands-on, you could have, like, stabbed him while he was still passed out. But instead, he, like, wakes him up and then challenges him to some fisticuffs, like, it's time to get pugilistic. Only he immediately cheats by bringing out a knife. So if you weren't going to actually, like, throw down with honor, why not just let him die? It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, they have, like, a really lame fight against each other, which, of course, Jason Statham wins. They then get into a backup submarine and escape to the surface. And in the meantime, the main base is being raided by the CEO's cleanup squad, who's come like they're a military group who's come to kill everybody so they can keep the secret that they're mining rare earth minerals in the trenches. But because of that explosion kind of poking a hole in that, protective barrier over the trench, 3 megalodons and the Kraken escape. A giant squid, basically the Kraken, escapes to these 3 megalodons and like, uh-oh, we've got a problem. But it's not that big of a problem. So instead, the military just keeps, like, shooting people and taking over the main base. And then there's 2 main people there that escape that are friends of Jason Statham. One of them's very cool. His name's DJ. He's got, like, a fucking Desert Eagle, and he's got, like, pepper spray and a taser. And he's really cool. I think he's probably my favorite character in the movie. So he has some cool moments where he unleashes some martial arts and he starts shooting his Desert Eagle. Like, it's fun watching him. And this whole sequence is kind of enjoyable because finally it's snapping out of this tedious corporate conspiracy narrative that they were trying to drive home. Now we're just getting into some fun action. We have some megalodons that are now finally starting to do something like eat people. We have the Kraken who's on the loose now. So finally, like an hour and 10 minutes into the movie, we're getting something entertaining. So anyway, I'm just going to press fast forward real quick here. Basically, all of the good guys escape the the main base. The Marines are still chasing them, and Jess, the woman on the inside, turns out was the lover of the bad guy in the deep sea. So he comes back, he gives her a kiss, and then the main evil CEO calls Jess, and she's like, Jess, we're going to need to give you a promotion. We're going to make you a hero here because the public's going to hear about this somehow. I don't know how, but they're like, we need to make you the hero here, Jess, so we're going to write you a story about how you saved everyone and saved the world and saved the planet. And Jess is like, that sounds great. And then she gets eaten by a megalodon who comes through the glass and kills her right in front of her boyfriend. And her boyfriend runs away. He's like, oh no, no, no. So that's how they get Jess out of there. She was a very important person in everything going wrong, and she probably only had like 4 scenes in total in the entire movie for maybe like 3 minutes of screen time. And they killed her off in a really quick, comical way. That was self-aware, though. I'm very certain that was an on-purpose gag to kill her like that. So I don't have a problem with that. But anyway, now we're getting off the main base. We're towards the end of the movie. So the good guys are in a little boat, and they're going towards something called Fun Island. Didn't put any real effort into this, clearly. This movie really feels like it's the first product of the writer's strike. Like, this had to have just been written by people on their off time during lunch that weren't on strike. Like, there's no way an actual team of writers wrote this one. I really don't think so. Or if they did, they intentionally made it as unappealing to everybody as possible, because up until this point, it is a snooze fest, and they fucking called this place Fun Island. Didn't even bother to give it a name. So they're approaching Fun Island, like, everyone get out of the water! There's fucking megalodons coming, and it's a giant squid! And they're like, oh, it's a load of hooey. You're stupid. We're vacationing. We're having fun. We're not getting out of the water. And then all of the bad guys arrive to Fun Island as well, because they all deduced that it was going to Fun Island, so they go to Fun Island. And for some reason, the fucking evil CEO flies in on a helicopter to the island as well. The central point of the conflict, with all of the fucking prehistoric killing machines and all of the gunfights against the good and bad guys. For some reason, the evil CEO, who's totally safe and comfortable at her penthouse suite, flies here and just sits in the helicopter. She just wanted to be boots on the ground, like feel like she was part of the team, you know, part of the crew, part of the ship type shit. So she flies in a fucking helicopter just to sit there and whine. Why? Why? Like, it doesn't even make sense in the context of the narrative. She has no reason to be there, but she goes out of her way to be there. And she's there like this, too. She basically fucking teleports there. Like, I don't know how she got there so quick. But she's there, and then she immediately dies. Because also escaping from the trench wasn't just megalodons and the kraken. It was like lizard monsters. So they're these like 4-legged little lizards with big teeth that crawl around. And they bite and kill her. They drag her away. So she does nothing. She flies to the island just to sit in the helicopter and die. But not before she has like 5 other horrible scenes where she's in the helicopter and she hears a noise. And she says to the pilot, she's like, Jenkins, go check on that. And it's like, lady, open your eyes. So like he turns off the helicopter and he goes out there and he dies eventually. But it zooms out from the helicopter, and there is a dead body right next to the helicopter, right next to the evil CEO, that somehow she didn't see? Like, she didn't know? And she's like, Jenkins, I don't know what that was. Go check on it. And it's like, if she just looked to her left, she would have seen a dead body. And how the fuck did someone die there without her knowing about it? Who was it? Sam Fisher on a stealth mission killed this guy? Like, it makes no sense. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. And it's not just that body either. There was another body as well right next to the helicopter. So multiple people died around her, and she didn't know? Was she asleep? Is she lobotomized? Like, what the fuck? And then eventually she gets ambushed. Ambush is the wrong word, because the thing literally just slowly crawls up to her, jumps in the helicopter, and drags her away. And we never see her again, so she's presumed dead. So she had nothing to contribute to this fucking movie at all. The entire corporate conspiracy plotline has no real conclusion to it. It's all such trash. It's such trash. I'm kind of jumping all over the place now because the movie itself jumps all over the place. It becomes like an actual fever dream. So trying to remember anything from this film is a Herculean task. So the good guys are on the beach. They see the megalodons coming, and the megalodon starts eating people, starts killing people. The giant squid brings down an entire ship and starts, strangling people and killing them, drowning them, eating them. And I shit you not, two of the good guys go off on their own side quest, like into the jungle, because there's like a jungle on the beach there. So they go off into the jungle, and Jason Statham and another good guy and the child are still on the beach coming up with a plan. And for some fucking reason, Jason Statham tells the child to go to the lifeguard tower, which overlooks the water. You know, the place with the 3 megalodons and the giant squid that we're trying to escape from? He tells her to basically go into the fucking water. I'm surprised he didn't tell her to get on the surfboard and, like, start shredding some waves to have a little fun to take her mind off the stress. Like, what is that plan? Like, just tell her to go into the jungle. Like, the only thing that I can maybe try and rationalize here is I'm giving such a charitable fucking goodie bag to the team here, is that maybe Jason Statham thought it'd be more dangerous for her in the jungle because there were some gunshots from the bad guys fighting the lizard monsters. But even still, it's significantly lower odds of getting shot out in that jungle, which is a huge jungle, than it is putting her over the water with the megalodons and shit. But anyway, he basically just sends her to her death, like, as a prank. She doesn't die, spoiler. But he sends her to the most dangerous place possible. Meanwhile, he himself made little spears with bombs on them, which is something that we've seen him do before. And his plan is he's going to start throwing the spears with bombs on them at the megalodons, and he's going to save the day and be the big fucking hero. So the side quest that two of the people go on is to find the helicopter. They find the helicopter, no problem, lickety-split. And then they say it's out of fuel. How could it possibly be out of fuel? They just landed that bitch. It has been fucking planted on the ground and nothing else. How is it out of fuel? Did it just barely make the trip here? Did the lizard monsters, like, siphon the gas out of it because they're addicted to the gas? Like, how is it out of fuel? So then there's an intense moment where they're, like, scrambling to get the fuel hose, which is right next to the helicopter, conveniently. And they're like, all right, fill it up. And then the lizard monsters are, like, charging them. It's like, no, our precious nectar. We need the fuel. It tastes so good. So the lizard monsters are crawling after him. He starts spraying them with the gas, and they're like, ooh. So he's, like, holding them off with that, and then he fills the chopper in between, sprays them, and he's filling the chopper. And then they get on the chopper, and then one of the guys throws a match and blows up the lizards, and they fly the chopper away for literally 3 seconds before he immediately crashes. So, chopper crashes. One guy jumps out, one guy stays in, and you think he's dead, but he's not, because the helicopter, like, basically fucking explodes. The helicopter literally, like, fucking explodes. So you're like, oh, man, that guy died. Rest in peace, man. Godspeed. What a fucking patriot. But no, he's not dead. Like, somehow he survived it. So he's just, like, hanging out in there. So the guy who jumps off is like, I need to save him now. So he, like, swims over there, and he saves him, no problem. But anyway, let's just I'll just finish up. I've been going on for so fucking long here. This is like an actual Moonfall incident here, trying to explain this absolutely disgusting, degenerate plot. So Jason Statham is throwing spears at the sharks, and this is when the movie is finally good. Watching the sharks actually kill people, well, as much as they show, which isn't much of anything, is enjoyable. It's fun. You know, shove popcorn in your face, turn your brain off, and just enjoy the silliness of it. It's fun. Jason Statham fighting the megalodons is fucking great. Him throwing these homemade spears with bombs on them is really cool. Blows the brains off of one of them after riding a gnarly-ass wave. So a megalodon jumps up, it misses him, slams down, creates a huge splash, which creates a huge wave, which Jason Statham fucking Tony Hawk ramps off of, throws a spear down beneath him, blows the brain off of one of the megalodons, bang, checkmate. Then Jason Statham crashes his jet ski. Oh, I forgot to mention he's on a jet ski, by the way. Actually, that's a very important part. I don't know what you were picturing without me saying jet ski, but yeah, he's on a jet ski. He's not, like, running on the water, you know. He's on a vehicle. But he crashes, and then he's on the dock, and then the bad guy is there as well. And the bad guy's got a light machine gun, and he's, like, shooting at him. And Jason Statham gets the edge. He stabs him in the leg. He takes his gun. And this is where we get our really cool one-liner moment. The bad guy's like, you've got your gun. You gonna shoot me? And he's like, don't need it. So Jason Statham drops the gun, which is so fucking dumb, by the way, because these are just sharks. You can shoot them, and it will hurt them. That gun would be invaluable as a resource to have. Having that gun would be so fucking helpful to protecting that child you care so much about and everyone else on the beach that you seem to care a lot about. But for some reason, it's like, yep, don't need it. I also forgot to mention that the child who went to the lifeguard tower for some reason decides that she wanted to try and save one person in particular, so she gets on a surfboard and swims out to her because she was drowning, and then she like leads her to the shore. So that was like a tense moment because like, oh, is the Megalodon gonna kill the kid? No, didn't happen, but just wanted to point that out. So he drops the gun, the bad guy's like, I knew you were too soft to shoot me, and it turns out this sneaky bad guy had another gun in his belt pocket holster. So he rips it out, and as he's going for it, Jason Statham kicks him into the mouth of a Megalodon who's going by who eats him. And Jason Statham's one-liner is, see you later, chum. So that was awesome. Yeah, and then I'll just go ahead and wrap up the synopsis here. Jason Statham starts banging a helicopter blade against the surface of the water to get the attention of the Megalodon to get him away from his friends. The Megalodon charges him. The Megalodon jumps up, about to eat Jason Statham, but Jason Statham drops back, points the helicopter blade straight up, and impales the Megalodon, killing it. Now, astute observers will have, well, not observers, astute listeners will have heard me mention that there were 3 Megalodons and a giant squid. So what happened to the other Megalodon and the giant squid? Well, that third Megalodon ate the giant squid, mauled it, because it wanted to. So that's how the giant squid dies. And then the third Megalodon is actually the one that escaped from captivity that they were trying to train. So the main trainer had his like clicking tool, and he gave it clicks to try and let the Megalodon know, hey, it's me, we're buddies, we're pals. And the Megalodon's like, ooh, geez, pardon me, you're right. I didn't recognize you, out here in the water like this. I'll be on my way now. So after a couple clicks, the Megalodon just swims past them and then leaves. That's where the movie ends. So, yeah, that was Meg 2. It was a fun, bad movie at the end, but everything before it was insufferably boring bad. So I didn't love it, basically. But yeah, probably the stupidest movie I've seen in a while. Definitely up there. But I do like the last 20 or 30 or so minutes because finally it's what the movie should be. Fucking silly action with sharks and a giant squid. It's fun. So, yep, that's about it. See ya. Wow. Yeah, I just saw the Winnie the Pooh horror movie, Blood and Honey, and it is without exaggeration one of the stinkiest horror films I've ever had the pleasure of watching, and undoubtedly in the top 10 worst films I've ever seen in theaters. Which is truly an honor, because I've seen all kinds of worthless, absolute trash. Now, I'm sure you all know Winnie the Pooh's public domain now, which is why this film was able to be made in the first place. This isn't like an official Winnie the Pooh production. It's not canon. This isn't going to be part of the established Winnie the Pooh lore. The property went to the public domain Thunderdome, meaning anybody could use and abuse it freely. So a lot of people tried to latch on to the tit and suckle some milk out of the power of the IP, and this led to this production here. It was a very cheap one that was haphazardly thrown together, clearly trying to capitalize off the wackiness of its concept. What if Winnie the Pooh killed people? And that's about it. That's as far as the creativity goes. And it's very clear they rushed the fuck out of this because nothing works. This is the laziest, most unapologetic cash grab I've ever seen in my life. But it doesn't even have the decency to be self-aware. It is bad at everything it tries to do, and it doesn't even do it with like a smile on its face. Of course I knew going into this it was going to be bad. Anyone with eyes could see that this would be dog shit. I mean, just look at the costume. They didn't even bother putting any effort into Winnie the Pooh or Piglet. They just found the cheapest masks available at Party City and then just had 2 guys wearing the masks. That's it. They also have human hands. And also a lot of times the mask kind of rides up a little bit so you can just see like a normal human actor underneath the mask. It's just a disaster. This is one of the few films where I actually took notes during it because I felt like I was so insulted and I couldn't believe what I was watching. So I jotted down a few notes during this, also because it was basically just me and Aaron in this movie theater watching it together, fucking stunned by what we were witnessing. It is truly a catastrophe on every level, but I will openly say it was fun bad. It was. I'm happy to report it wasn't boring bad. Its sheer incompetence and its inability to do anything right while not being self-aware made it a fun, enjoyably shit film. So I'd like to walk you through a lot of what happens here. Clearly we're going to get in spoiler territory, so fair warning, though I don't know why you'd give a fuck about spoilers for this kind of movie. It's not exactly heavy on the narrative at all. So let's go ahead and dive in. Just to give you a quick example of how much they cared about doing this cheaply, they don't have Winnie or Piglet talk. They clearly wanted to save money on the budget by not having additional voice actors try and impersonate Winnie or Piglet, so they came up with this. During a harsh winter, Winnie the Pooh hatched this genius idea to eat Eeyore in order to save the rest of them. So they sacrifice Eeyore for the greater good, they eat him, and then take a vow of silence because they were so traumatized by what they had done to their friend. So they never speak. So that saved them some money. The story is as follows. Christopher Robin meets Winnie and the gang in the 100-Acre Wood. They're friends for a while, but Christopher Robin goes off to college, and during that time, the group goes fucking hog wild. They go insano style. Their minds break. They turn to madness, and they become these ferocious killing machines for some reason, because they felt abandoned by Christopher Robin. But Christopher Robin is now engaged, and he wants to bring his fiancée into everything that was important in his life, which includes Winnie and the gang. So they visit the 100-Acre Wood looking for them, and his fiancée doesn't believe him. But then we get like Darman level acting throughout the entire film, but immediately it starts to shine because his wife is like, "You are so successful because you are creative. And even if these are imaginary friends, that business that you have made and you being as creative as you have been has led to you being one of the best people in the world, Christopher Robin. But I'm not sure if they're real." And Christopher's like, "But no, fiancé, these are real." And then sure enough, they eventually stumble upon the cabin, and then Piglet grabs a chain and strangles his wife till she dies. And then Christopher Robin gets cornered by Pooh and Piglet, and he drops what I believe to be one of the most iconic lines in horror movies now. He says, "Pooh, you've got to help me. Something's wrong with Piglet. He killed my wife." and then that's when it sinks in on Christopher Robin that they're all, off their gourd. So Pooh and Piglet start closing in on Christopher Robin as he's yelling and screaming. And he's saying, "We were friends, but we were friends. We were friends. What happened to us being friends?" And then they kidnap him, and that's the intro. A fierce and fiery start to this one. And I'd like to mention that the two actors in the Winnie and Piglet costumes, I wouldn't be surprised to learn that they're like 80 years old, because they move around so fucking slow. Especially Pooh Bear. Pooh Bear fee-fi-fo-fums around like he's carrying 1,000 pounds on each ankle. I thought for a second every time they moved, they slowed down the footage by like half. Like they moved at 0.5 speed. It really looks like they're riddled with arthritis. Every movement they make is extremely stiff. When they kill somebody, it's almost like animatronic to a certain degree. Like, it's so jarring. I would have expected them to be a little more limber since they're supposed to be like these crazy, agile, unstoppable killing machines. But my god, they are painfully slow and stiff. It's weird. But anyway, moving on. So that's the intro done. And then we get to our main characters. And I couldn't even tell you any of their names because it just genuinely wasn't important. They are actual just meat balloons for Winnie and Piglet to pop. So it's a group of girls that go to this cabin in the 100-Acre Wood for a vacation. And this is a no technology vacation. They want to go off the grid, like in fucking witness protection, basically. So they turn their phones off and everything is when they get to the cabin. But unfortunately, one of their friends was a little late, so when she was calling them to ask for directions, they didn't answer. So she pulled over outside, like next to the cabin, a little far down the road, and was trying to get them to answer. And as she's calling, Pooh Bear spots her. And this is very bad because Pooh Bear's got a taste for blood and he's gluttonous. So Pooh Bear starts chasing her down like this. The girl's screaming. She eventually makes it to some kind of like warehouse and takes cover underneath a wood chipper. You can see where this is going. As she's hiding, Pooh happens to find her. And I shit you not, I swear this is going to sound like I'm making up, but I'm not. Pooh grabs her and then rips her shirt off. And then her tits are flopping all over the place for a minute, and Pooh's like moving her around so her tits kind of jiggle. And then he starts slamming her head against the wood chipper till she dies, and then he puts her in the wood chipper to make a blood sundae out of. So it's shooting all of her blood and guts out of the wood chipper, and that's it. I don't understand what the point was in Pooh Bear stripping her nude, basically. Well, I guess not fully nude, making her topless. I don't really get it. I thought this was going to be like some kind of narrative plot point where like he sees her tits and his eyes just go like awooga or something to indicate that he's like a pervert, like truly just the most, reprehensible menace of all time. But it played no role in anything because Pooh doesn't talk, he has no emotion, he has no real character, he just kills. So what the fuck was a point in just like having her tits all over the place for like 20 seconds? And that's another thing. All of these kills, the directors confused tension with just general time and dead silence and dead space. So when she's hiding, it is painfully long of her just sitting there and Pooh's feet by the door. It'll go on for like 45 seconds of nothing happening. It's not building tension, it's just overstaying its welcome and it's just dead space. It's fucking worthless. And that's for every single kill. The director really just thought like holding a still frame of something in the background is building tension, and it's just not. It was just really mind-numbingly boring, and it really lasted a long time. Like in the intro, when Christopher Robin was saying, but we were friends, and Piglet and Pooh were coming in, that scene was probably about 2 minutes of them standing there, slowly getting closer, as Christopher Robin repeated the same 5 lines over and over again, like it was an NPC malfunctioning in a video game. It was painful how long those scenes would drag. But anyway, moving on, so that girl got thrown in the wood chipper. Back at the cabin, one of the girls is an Instagram model, so she's in her downtime playing music in a hot tub, and while Pooh Bear is dispensing of like this corpse, this skeleton of one of their victims, he hears the music, so he looks around, and then he sees the hot tub. So as she's taking Instagram pictures, you can see Pooh in the background, and the girl notices that too, and she's like, oh, what the fuck is this? That's a weird looking creature back there. So then she turns around, literally knows Pooh is there and knows that it's some kind of fucked up abomination back there, and she's like, I know you're there, but you're not gonna ruin my vacation, or what was the line? You're not gonna ruin my hot tub or something? I don't know, it was a terrible line, but she recognizes that there is a complete stranger in these fucking woods, this giant fucking animal recognizes that, and then just says, you're not gonna ruin my time, so she gets back in the hot tub, where she gets chloroformed by Piglet and Pooh Bear. So then they fucking hog tire on the front porch and then steal one of their cars, and Piglet puts his foot on her while Pooh Bear slowly drives over her skull, and then you get a close-up of her skull slowly exploding, so her eye pops out at the camera, and then blood starts squirting, and they're using the worst CGI of all time for the blood squirting, and eventually her head just pops and blows up. The genre that this movie's in is torture porn, pretty much. Like, that is basically all it is. It's just Winnie and Piglet torturing and killing people. I even forgot to mention that Christopher Robin is being tortured by Pooh. He was hitting him with Eeyore's tail, just like fucking flogging him with it. And this is what I'm talking about with a lot of things they didn't even bother to follow through on. There's a moment where Christopher Robin's like, I know you're still good in there, Pooh. This isn't you. You killed my wife, but I know you're still good in there. And then Pooh has this moment where he like cries, and then he breaks some boxes, and then he looks at himself in the mirror, and then he goes back to hitting him with Eeyore's tail, and it's never explored again. Like, ever. At all. Like, there's just this brief moment of vulnerability, but then he goes right back to just being this two-dimensional killing machine. So now, back to the cabin. They blow up that girl's head with the car. It turns out all of the other girls, for some reason, spread out across the land, so 2 of them are by, like, a pond, talking. Another 2 of them are literally like doing nothing, just standing around doing nothing. But they hear their friend scream and they all run back to the cabin. They see her corpse, they freak out, they go inside, and Pooh is written "Get out" in blood on the window. So now they recognize they're being hunted, they're under attack, and they're trying to find things to defend themselves with. And then the main girl remembers that she brought a gun with her on this vacation. Her backstory is she had a stalker, so she's been a little scared of things, so she has a gun. And when she mentioned that, both Aaron and I thought it was going to be like a Glock or something, like a normal gun, like a normal kind of gun that you see in movies. Well, it turns out the gun she brought is a fucking revolver, but not just any revolver. It's like a goddamn 6-shooter straight out of Overwatch. Like, she was fucking McCree. She had this giant goddamn revolver. She came out here with that big iron on her hip. So she pulls out this massive revolver, a fucking 50 caliber hand cannon, and they're like, okay, now we can defend ourselves. But then they still split up. And so the girl with the revolver and her friend, they get into like a sniper's perch, and Pooh is just standing in the middle, like looking down, looking all confused, as they have like a clear shot on him. but they're not taking it for some reason. Then Pooh walks into the kitchen. So then we go to the other group of 2 girls that for some reason split off near the pool, and Piglet's over there, and they freak out. One of the girls falls in the pool. The other one, Piglet pushes, and she gets knocked unconscious. And then Piglet, fuck, it is so hard to describe how awful this is. Piglet is after the girl in the pool, and he has a chain and a sledgehammer. And he starts like slapping the chain against the pool water, trying to get her, and the girl's like moving backwards, like slowly in the pool as Piglet's hitting the water. And this goes on for like 2 minutes. It's terrible. And then eventually he's like, this isn't working, I'm going to get the sledgehammer. And while he's getting the sledgehammer, the girl, instead of like getting out of the pool, like a normal logical decision, like getting out of the pool and running away while he's getting the sledgehammer, she instead like gets closer to him in the pool. And I thought this was going to be like a fight back moment where she's going to like grab the chain and yank him in and try and kill him. But no, she's just closer to him as he gets the sledgehammer. Then he gets the sledgehammer and she starts backing up again in the pool, like slowly swimming her way back. And then Piglet hits her with the sledgehammer and kills her. And then the girl that got knocked out from the push, they take and chain up back at their camp, and Winnie the Pooh slaps her after eating some honey. So he's eating some honey. The girl wakes up. He notices she wakes up, and he slaps her. And he slaps her again. And then he slaps her again. And then he slaps her again. And then he slaps her again. It goes on for like a fucking minute. That's what I'm talking about. All of these scenes last for so long, and it's so unnecessary. It does nothing. It doesn't make it more tense. It doesn't make it more brutal. It just makes it really fucking weird and uncomfortable. Anyway, that's another one of the vacationing girls dead. Don't even know her name. None of these characters had any level of depth to them whatsoever. The other 2 girls that have the revolver and her friend, they try and, track down where her friend got taken. They eventually track it back to Winnie the Pooh and Piglet's hideout. And there's now another girl that's been captured, and she's screaming. So they free her, and she's been mauled by Piglet, so her face is all fucked up, and it makes her mad. Then they free Christopher Robin as well at some point, who's still alive, just being tortured. So now they have Christopher Robin freed, and this completely random girl that also happened to get tortured by Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. And the girl whose face is all messed up from Piglet grabs the gun and says, I'm going to make that bastard pay for this. So then she shoots a shot in order to lure Piglet out, and he comes out from a fucking trailer, and he's got his chain, and they're circling around a fire in what I expect they thought would be a cool action moment, like a cool action shot. So they're circling this fire. He's got a chain, she's got a gun, and she's ready to go fucking John Wick on him. But then she tries to shoot him, and it's out of bullets. It turns out the girl only packed a single bullet in that revolver, which leads me to believe that her plan for the vacation was to play fucking Russian roulette with her friends. Why would she only load a single bullet into the revolver? And that's not even the stupidest part about that scene. Because they freed that girl, they freed Christopher Robin, Piglet and Pooh had no idea that was going on. I think they both went to sleep for some reason. They could have all left. But when the girl took the revolver and said, I want to make Piglet pay, the other 2 girls, well 3 because they had freed her friend, the other 3 girls just decided to watch. So they get in the closest proximity they can to this showdown, which happens to be a single keg, like an actual beer keg they hide behind, and they're watching it, like peeking over the side while this complete random woman has their gun and is about to shoot Piglet. They all just came over to watch for no reason. They could have just left. They could have left and they would have survived. They would have been fine. But they decided to be spectators here, and it's like an episode of Scooby-Doo. Like they couldn't help it. They're just peeking over to watch it go down. So once it's clear that the girl's out of ammo, Winnie the Pooh comes up behind her, knocks her down, pours honey on her face, and Piglet eats her face off. And that's when Pooh notices that the 3 other girls happen to be behind that keg of beer watching. So then he's like coming at him like this. And 2 of the girls run away, but the other one hides and grabs a sledgehammer and ambushes Piglet. And she hits Piglet twice in order to get revenge for the friend that she killed. The other 2 girls are running through the forest, which is, I believe, miles away. Like, they ran miles, like, in a matter of seconds, and Pooh's following them like a goddamn robot. But after Piglet gets hit twice, he screams, and Pooh hears this miles away, and somehow Pooh instantly teleports back to the camp, and right after that girl delivers the killing blow on Piglet, Winnie the Pooh kills her by stabbing a machete through her throat and hanging her up on a post. Every character in this movie has super speed or like Dragon Ball Z level instant transmission because they're teleporting all over this place. They'll teleport from the cabin to the Pooh hideout, to the woods, back to the cabin, all in a matter of actual seconds. It's fucking crazy. But anyway, now we're down to our last two survivors. Piglet's dead. Pooh's very upset about all of this. Sorry, just checking my notes, making sure I didn't miss anything. I'm skipping over some other shit. Like, it's so bafflingly fucking terrible. But anyway, the next important plot point is the two girls make it to a road, and there's a pickup truck of some goofy dudes in there. One of them comes out looking like the fucking crypt keeper, and they're like, what's wrong with you girls? You're not making any sense. What do you mean you're scared? Who are you scared of? And then Pooh's on the road, and they're like, you scared of this joker, this clown? All right, we'll get in the car. We'll take care of this. And they march up to him with baseball bats, beer bottles, and a crowbar. And they're like, hey, bub, what did you do to scare these girls? You're not a nice guy, are you? So then they start beating up Pooh Bear, and he's just tanking all of the shots. And then I wrote down how he kills them because it's so wild. So after it becomes clear that what they're doing is ineffective, Pooh slaps the entire side of someone's face off. Like, literally turns him into Harvey Dent, Two-Face, slaps the side of the guy's face off, which kills him, and then he karate chops another guy's arm off, and then curb stomps him. Then he karate slices another guy's throat open, killing him, and then the last guy, he summons a swarm of bees to kill. So Pooh Bear can control bees in this universe, I guess, and he uses that to kill that guy who runs away. Then the girls freak out, but they have a car now, and they try and get away in the car, but Pooh's latched on to the back, and then they brake real hard. Pooh flies off, but for some reason they broke so hard that their heads hit the dash and they pass out. So then one of the friends gets grabbed by Pooh, and then he rips her head off and then throws it on the windshield. And then our protagonist turns on the windshield wipers because the blood was gross, I guess, which is so stupid, so fucking dumb, because I guess she was still going to try and get away and couldn't see with their friend's head in the windshield. But she wasn't able to clean it off fast enough and start the car, so Pooh grabs her, and he's about to kill her, but then Christopher Robin comes speeding in another vehicle and hits Pooh, which stuns him, but it doesn't kill him. So then Pooh grabs that girl one more time, slits her throat in front of Christopher Robin, and then says the only line that Pooh and Piglet have, and he says, "You left us." And then, after, kills the girl, slits her throat, and then just starts stabbing her a million times as Christopher Robin cries and runs away. Roll credits. I just summed up the whole movie for you. That is the whole movie. I am convinced that they were padding for time with all of those very long, drawn-out sections of, nothing happening. I think that was in order to fill time, in order to make, the bare minimum for a feature-length film, because this movie is fucking short. Way shorter than I would have ever expected. It's over in, a single blink of the eye. And everything that happens is so half-baked and terrible. All of it looks terrible. None of what they even attempted to do lands in even the slightest capacity. I thought this would be self-aware goofiness. It's not self-aware. It is goofy, but for all the wrong reasons, which almost makes it better. Like I said, it is enjoyably bad. It is fun bad. It's no Moonfall, unfortunately, but I did enjoy my time watching it. It was something special. Oh bother! I tell you, this one was a super stinker, and I just had to come home and vent about it and talk about it because holy shit! It has a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I actually agree with. It's very rare I agree with Rotten Tomatoes scores. That one's right on the money. 5% sounds about right. The audience score of 51%, though, I can't understand because it is enjoyably shit. It is a fun bad movie. It's something wild. That's about it. So yeah. Yeah, I just watched the live-action Dragonball movie. Don't cry for me. I did it to myself. It really feels like this movie spits in your eyes when you watch it. I've never watched a movie and felt genuinely offended until today. I almost made a goddamn twit-longer about this film. So I'm sure all of you know Dragon Ball Evolution is a 2009 live-action Dragon Ball movie, and it's abominable. And I'd never actually seen it. I'd always just heard how bad it was and just assumed it couldn't be worse than the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender movie. But after finishing it, I can absolutely confirm that it is worse.
The first rule is, there are no rules.
I didn't immediately recognize that was a leaf that flew by. I thought someone had thrown a hot dog at Goku's face, like an angry theater goer throwing tomatoes at the screen or something. I also thought I just completely purchased the wrong movie for a second and just got scammed because this had nothing to do with Dragon Ball right off rip. The storyline is Piccolo's been sealed away by some ancient curse, and his apprentice Uzaru was sealed away with him. And now it's all about not letting him be unsealed, but he is unsealed. They don't explain how, but he escaped the seal. And like Gohan, Goku's grandpa says, the first rule is there are no rules, which is a line straight out of Fast and Furious. This suffers from the exact same curse that Avatar: The Last Airbender live action suffered from, where none of the characters look like the characters they're emulating, and nothing in the movie even comes close to anything that happened in the shows.
First one to touch the ground loses.
Yeah, that's a real scene in the movie. This isn't a fan edit. That's the level of visual effects that this movie comes to the table with. That little fly looks like an actual student's first attempt with Adobe After Effects after watching 2 YouTube tutorials on it. It is embarrassing how awful the visuals are here. Now, I will grant them that this movie had a $30 million budget, which by all measures for a theatrical release is pretty low, so they had to make do with what they had. So I'm guessing they just hired a team of high schoolers for CGI. This is probably the most insulting part of the movie. That was airbending. I'm not making this shit up, listen.
I will take you to a secret place where a chosen few were taught to master the energy of the 3 elements: air, fire, and water. Shadow Crane Strike is the most basic of all the air bending techniques.
I honestly felt like I was being made fun of, like my feelings were hurt just listening to this. They tried to like hijack Avatar, which is poetic because this came out a year before the last Airbender shitstorm, so it's almost like a little foreshadowing for like the impending disaster that would be the last Airbender movie. I just couldn't believe it when I heard this. For some reason they just bring in bending. Inexplicably. I mean, that's not in Dragon Ball. It's not like a crucial part of Dragon Ball. It's not like all of a sudden like Aang comes out of nowhere and kills Vegeta or some shit like that, or makes a wish on the Dragon Balls himself. I don't understand how this even happened. And it makes me put on the tinfoil hat a little bit to get into the conspiracy side of things, where maybe Hollywood was working together to ruin 2 franchises within a year, and they chose Dragon Ball and Avatar.
Promise.
Okay, you made me promise not to fight. Then teach me something I can use. Teach me how to get the girl. Teach me how to talk to her without stumbling all over everything I say.
This movie is so shameless they decided to make Goku an insecure high schooler who gets bullied and asks his grandfather for advice on how to get laid. Who do you think your grandpa is? Some kind of alpha male YouTuber giving you the secrets to pussy? It makes no sense why they would even make this decision for the film.
Hey, Fuller, you just wrecked my bike!
Agundis, did you just fart, man? Because I could have swore I just heard something.
Basically, they took Degrassi and slapped Dragon Ball names into it. They just gave us fucking Riverdale with a Dragon Ball skin, kind of. And you thought the last Airbender movie was a fucking disgrace to the show it was based on.
Don't worry, it won't be a fight.
It'll be a massacre.
He threw a plastic cup. Why did they make a glass breaking sound effect? Do you think we're all that dumb, huh? We've all seen that plastic cup because it's that same shit they sell in bulk at Target. We all have that cup. We know it doesn't fucking explode like a glass bomb going off.
Missed again.
He gets invited to a party, his bullies are there and they want to beat his ass, but he made a promise not to fight them, but he didn't make a promise not to dodge them and make them fight each other. So he dodges all of their attacks and they end up beating each other's asses instead. And I have to wonder, what high schoolers fight like it's the goddamn Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? One of them comes in with like a flying drop kick from across the fucking driveway for Goku to dodge. But anyway, he ends up dodging everything, they all hurt themselves, and Chi-Chi was watching and instantly falls in love with him.
Doing good. Hey, Fuller! You got a couple of dings there you might want to try buffing out.
I almost forgot to mention this incredible piece of cinema history. Goku starts breakdancing on the main bully's car, and the bully keeps hitting his car with a pipe while trying to hit Goku. But his moves are too smooth. He hits the meanest head slide of all time, going right across the hood of the bully's car. Bully hits it with a pipe again, breaking it even further. I mean, the resale value is tanked because Goku is so good. And then he dodges two bullies' attacks and they hit each other with their pipes. And that's game over, baby. He unleashed the dragon. He went Dragonball turbo mode.
I know this may be hard to believe, but we're a lot alike.
This is the best birthday I've ever had.
Goku and Chi-Chi share a very spicy interaction here, a lot of flirting, and my god, there is no chemistry between them. It's like chocolate milk and cereal. They just don't go well together. But while they're engaging in this flirting, Goku's grandpa gets murdered by Piccolo. He uses the Force to kill him. Before dying, though, Gohan tells Goku that he needs to find all 7 Dragon Balls and make a wish to banish Piccolo to the Shadow Realm in order to protect the Earth, and that he has to find Master Roshi in order to do it. But then he also meets Bulma.
Who's the idiot? Look at it. Oh my god.
Pretty fucking epic meeting, I will say. And then they manage to track Master Roshi down to a fucking, like, Dr. Seuss house in the middle of a lake outside of a city. But not really outside of a city, it's still like in the city in a retention pond, basically.
Bulma! Bulma! Bulma, wait!
Looks like I'm the idiot, so I thought that was water when I first watched it, but now that I'm editing it, I realize that it's actually floating above a bunch of shit. So I'm really confused on where this is and how this exists. Even more so now. But yeah, I guess it's not water. I don't exactly know what the fuck this is, but this is where they find him.
I am Lieutenant Roshi, the Invincible!
My grandfather is dead.
An inspired performance as Master Roshi here, honestly, 1-to-1 with the anime. And speaking of 1-to-1, let's take a good look at Piccolo. Amateur cosplayers do a better job of looking like Piccolo than this $30 million budget movie. He looks less like Piccolo and more like the Martian Manhunter going through a phase.
For a pretty thing like you, no problemo.
Thank you. You're a real gentleman.
Yamcha, at your service. I'm gonna need some payment.
They fall into a hole and meet Yamcha. That's it. Also, the actor here is really going hard as Yamcha. It's like going so campy that it becomes like almost self-aware. As if this actor knew the script was so fucking trash that he just wanted to poke fun at it in his own performance. Every single line he delivers is the most outrageously over-the-top and dumb thing I've ever heard from a single character. And I have to feel, I really believe that it's on purpose from the actor here.
Wait a minute, is that a Capsule RX 550 Roadster I see down there? Yo, I'll take that.
You're nothing but a low-life bandit.
Yeah, but one with a ladder. Just think it over, because after the sun comes out, it's gonna be hot, hot, hot. Hot.
You see what I mean? It's not even acting. It's like anti-acting. It's wild. I'm just not gonna bother showing anything from like the middle part of the movie. Eventually Piccolo gets all the Dragon Balls through the most underwhelming and unentertaining means imaginable ever. So I'm doing you a favor, but this is when he's about to summon the dragon, so he gets into like a Ginyu Force pose. Like he fucking T-poses and says, you know, like a prayer or something that Master Roshi interrupts. And you could see again the visual effects on full display here. You could feel every goddamn penny of that $30 million budget shining through in this beautiful spectacle.
Is a shell. This is who you are.
This was the big twist. Ozaru, the main bad guy that they needed to stop, not just Piccolo, but Ozaru, turns out to be Goku. He goes great ape form, kind of. I mean, that's how it is in the anime, but here he goes moderate werewolf mode, and then, unfortunately, in his anger and confusion, he kills Master Roshi.
Can you win? Don't let Ozaru destroy the Goku in you.
One of the saddest deaths in cinema history, I would argue, but luckily it was just enough to help snap Goku back into himself and out of Ozaru.
The Dragon Ball is mine.
Oh yeah, also Piccolo's sidekick gets shot and killed here. I don't think she ever even got a name. I'm pretty sure they didn't even bother to give this character any identity whatsoever. But she did have the power of shapeshifting because there's a scene where she transforms into Chi-Chi and then they fight each other. And then Goku beats the real Chi-Chi's ass by accident. It's not really like an entertaining scene to watch, but saying it out loud makes it sound better than it is.
I am Ozaru. To be at one with myself, I must be two.
Again!
Giant fucking fart effects all over the place. Bingo bango bongo. Goku beats Piccolo in triumphant fashion. And then they wish Master Roshi back from the dead with the Dragon Balls.
Dragon!
Roll credits. Or so you thought. It actually sets itself up for a sequel. Piccolo's not dead. In fact, he's alive. And sleeping. Soundly. Until he wakes up after having an interesting dream, I guess. So maybe we'll still see a Dragon Ball Evolution 2, if we're lucky. This was perhaps one of the worst adaptations of anything of all time. A statement I don't make lightly, especially after seeing the last Airbender movie, and there's countless other examples, but this one might actually be the worst. Even with all of the problems, the endless amount of problems with the last Airbender movie, it at the very least hit some of the story notes that were present in the show. Like some of the locations, some of it. At the very least. But this hits none. It's entirely different and worse in every possible aspect. The Avatar movie had like $100 million budget. It was a huge budget production. This one was $30 million and the visuals really suffer. Like everything is wrong with this movie. Every single component imaginable. It's actually a masterpiece in how awful it is. So yeah, I do think people are right to say that Dragon Ball Evolution is the worst movie adaptation ever, and potentially just one of the general worst movies ever made for the big screen. That's about it. So yeah. Wahoo! Is something you won't be saying if you see the new Super Mario Galaxy movie. It'll be more like a... It's not amazing, but it's not nearly as bad as a lot of people are claiming that it is. Well, I say not nearly as bad, but that's a bit too generous. It is almost as bad as some of the reviews claim. It's not very good, is the point. And this is coming from someone that liked the last Mario movie, even though a lot of people like to spit and shit on it for being like too simple and not, great movie overall. I'm just okay with that because it's a fucking Mario movie. I'm fine with it being simple. It was entertaining, and I think it did what it needed to do to be enjoyable for anyone. Like, not just for kids. Like, even families, I think, could go there and just have a good time. Like, the parents wouldn't, like, be miserable. With Super Mario Galaxy, though, I think adults will be miserable. Kids probably won't care because this is Jingling Keys, the movie. That's how a lot of people are describing it. It's very accurate. This movie is all over the place, just constantly, going nuts to butts here with cameo. Here's plotline, we're abandoning this plotline for new plotline, and then coming back to this one, just all over the place. It's a jumbled mess. But there's no doubt in my mind this is easily going to gross over $1 billion, and I'm confident kids are going to love it. As I said, it is just a movie where it is just always go, go, go. Here's thing happen, and then thing solve, so new thing can happen to then instantly solve to get to next thing that happened. Without a whole lot else there. So I'm very confident that kids are going to really like the film, and I also think if you're just a big fan and just want to see, Mario on the big screen again, you're not going to give a shit if it's not a typical good film per se, because it's going to show you a lot of things that you'll recognize and get excited and hype about, like a 2D segment where you'll be like, oh fuck, I remember playing something that looked just like that on my Game Boy, and look at how many things are happening in that over there. It's all colorful, and the animation is, like, extremely good. This is what I wanted. And then that's nothing wrong with that. All power to you. But, that being said, it's not, like, an amazing film, and there's nothing wrong with pointing that out. Yes, it is clearly designed for a young audience. This, I think, is even more of a kid's film than the last Mario Brothers movie was. But that doesn't mean that you still can't point out some of its flaws. There's nothing wrong with that. So anyway, let's just go ahead and backwards long jump here into the review. There's going to be spoilers. Fair warning if you care about that for this movie. So, I'll give you the big compliments. I'll give you a little bit of glaze here. I think the animation is beautiful. I think it is visually very nice to look at, and I think the action pops. So when there's like a fight between Bowser Jr. and Mario and Luigi and Yoshi, it's pretty enjoyable. By far the biggest superstar here, the real, shining standout is the music. I liked the music in the first Mario movie, and I actually like the music in this one even more. They fucking crush it on the score here. They take iconic Mario tracks, and they remix and fucking reflaffitate those puppies, and they sound great here. They're recognizable, but different, and they fit so fucking well in the movie. It is the best part of the movie is the music. And those are the only two real compliments I can give it. So, let's start with something I've already briefly dropped some breadcrumbs on, which is just how messy the structure is. There are multiple times in this film where it introduces a plot element and then abandons it. So, a big thing is, in the beginning, Bowser's turning a new leaf. He's getting more in touch with his emotions. He starts becoming friends with Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi. Yoshi gets introduced very early into the film. They become best buds, inseparable. Immediately, Bowser is, he's been hit with Minnie instead of Wumbo, but then eventually gets Wumbo-ized, and he still is, buddies with the crew. And Mario's, of course, skeptical, but Bowser actually makes a pretty big sacrifice in order to protect Mario, Luigi, and the gang. And then, immediately after making that sacrifice, where he has to work in the mines, Bowser Jr. just abducts him. And then the second he gets abducted, he's like, those are my friends. And Bowser Jr.'s like, yeah, but friends are a weakness. He's like, you know what, you're right. And then that's it. That's the end of that whole thing that they just spent, I don't know, a good 15 minutes building up, and you think it's going to play a role and be something that they teeter around with. But no, it just completely gets abandoned. They wipe their ass with it. It's just like that. He goes, oh, you're right. Friends are cringe. And then that's the end of it. It doesn't come up again at all in the film. And there's a couple other examples of things like that where they introduce something or a plot element only to immediately get rid of it. That's just the most egregious. And another thing that keeps happening in this movie is that something will happen, and then it's this big problem. For example, this has already been spoiled. I can't believe they dropped this before the movie came out. Fox McCloud is in this movie. Actually would have been a super hype reveal if I didn't see all the press about Fox McCloud being in this film. But he's here. He's probably the coolest character they introduce. And Fox McCloud is taking them to the planet that Rosalina's been captured, and on the way there, things kind of go tits up, and they end up crashing on another planet that seems like it's going to be a huge hurdle, like, oh no, the spaceship is kaput, yeah, it went kablooey, and now we're stuck here, what are we going to do? But then luckily, Luigi did like a single 5-second broadcast that the Rosalina's children picked up on, and here they come scooting in sideways right to this planet in the middle of fucking nowhere. They just come right in, Fox takes the ship, and then they go like maybe 2 blocks in the solar system to planet Bowser, which is a brand new planet that luckily is only a tiny little stroll away, just literally like maybe 25 feet away from this planet that they've crashed on, and now they have a ship so they can go there and do the final fight. It's just a whole movie that feels like it wants to speed run through things to make you point at the screen and go, oh, I recognize that. But nothing really connects. Like, there's some characters in here that you'll recognize from the games, maybe some boss fights, I don't want to spoil any of those, but they're in here as little cameos, but utilized in such a small capacity that it feels like such a sad, disappointing waste of these characters, where they're there for literally like a split second or a single scene, and then never utilized again. Like, a couple of the Easter eggs they put there were cool, but then they have entire characters that you'll know from the games that feel like they probably should have had a bigger role to play, but instead are just binged for the sake of showing like, oh, on the casino planet, they shot a couple of spitballs, and now they're gone. It's just, I don't know. It feels like it just wants to run through everything that you'll recognize from the games without having it actually flow in any way. Whereas the last Mario Brothers movie, even though it was like simple, it did feel like we got like a cohesive journey. At times, maybe it stumbled a little bit, but here, this movie is just always like, and then they go here, and then they teleport here, and then they get hit by a baby blaster, a baby ray that turns Mario and Luigi into babies, and they crash onto a dinosaur planet, but then they get rescued immediately, and then they go to planet Bowser right away. It's just, I don't know, nothing to me really flows at all, so it's just disjointed, and it leads it to just feeling like really hollow and just trying really hard to capitalize off you being like, oh, I recognize that, how cool. And like I said, there are a couple Easter egg moments that are cool. Again, Fox McCloud, if it wasn't already spoiled for me, would have been like a very shocking surprise to see in this film. And he is cool in this movie. He doesn't have a lot to do. I'll go ahead and spoil that. He has like very little to do. Like, he does like a bit of space combat, gets hit with the baby blaster, they crash on the dinosaur planet, and then he drives them to planet Bowser. He has maybe like 8 or 9 lines, if that. So it's like very little that he has. But I mean, he is a cool presence there. But like I said, it's just one of those things where it feels like they wanted to shoehorn in as many things as possible that you would recognize from their properties. So like even Game & Watch is here for like a very brief appearance in a fight. You want to know who's not really here, and it's very odd decision? Rosalina and Lumos, by extension. It's a Super Mario Galaxy movie with very, very little Rosalina in it. Like, I actually think Fox McCloud has more screen time. I haven't checked the stats or anything on it. I would wager Fox McCloud, who is a supporting character, but also, like I said, doesn't have a whole ton to contribute here. I still think Fox McCloud has more screen time and probably more lines than Rosalina. Very odd choice, I'm going to tell you right now. I don't really know what that decision was. Anyway, no real reason to keep yapping about it. It's not an amazing movie. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people are saying it is, but it's still not very good. I think it is a big step down from the last Mario Brothers movie, though. Anyway, that's really about it. See ya. You all know how much I love horrible, bad movies, and I am just giddy with excitement right now to talk about a movie I just saw that I now consider to be the goofiest film ever made. I just got back from the theater from seeing Moonfall, which is Roland Emmerich's new disaster porn. He's the man behind, like, 2012, Day After Tomorrow, some classics. And with this bad boy, he has created the stinker masterpiece, a smelly magnum opus. This movie, I can't even believe actually exists. I saw it in IMAX because I don't like to just watch a bad movie. I want to feel a bad movie, and goddamn did I feel it deep in my ass. This was an absolutely wild ride from start to finish. If somebody asked me what the best movie ever made was, I'd say Moonfall. If someone asked me what the worst movie ever made was, I'd say Moonfall. I don't know whether to give Moonfall a 100% on the moist meter or a 0. This fucking thing was so beautifully awful in all of the perfect ways. I just can't describe it. It is the actual perfect storm of dog shit put into film. The movie was like 2 hours long, and I swear to God, it felt like 20 minutes. I was upset when this movie ended. I just wanted it to keep going and going. This movie could have ran 8 hours, and I wouldn't have complained if it kept up this intensity. It was an amazing experience. So, spoiler alert, I want to go into it. I really want to fucking peel apart these stinky cheeks and tell you all about this movie start to finish. And let me just go ahead and say, this movie had the audacity to try and hint at a universe, like a Moonfall extended universe, kind of like the Marvel or Star Wars universe they created. Moonfall did that towards the end, and I need a sequel. The human race deserves a sequel to Moonfall. So let's get into it. So the movie starts with our main character, Brian, played by Patrick Wilson, in space with our other extremely important character, I forgot her name already, but played by Halle Berry. That's another thing about this movie. I saw it with Andrew, and the second we left the theater, we couldn't remember a single one of the characters' names apart from, like, Brian and the cat's name, which was Fuzz Aldrin. So, like, that's another thing. Like, all the characters are super forgettable. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, Halle Berry and Patrick Wilson's character, they're in space working on the space shuttle. And there's another character there with them that's helping, and then all of a sudden, a massive cloud of space dust blasts the ship. It tears it to pieces, knocks out Halle Berry, and it sends Brian, like, scrambling to get inside. And then the other guy, who I don't even know if they even gave a name to, his line gets cut, and he just gets sent, like, quadruple backflipping through space for all eternity and dies. And then when they arrive back at Earth, they blame Brian for the whole event, despite there being camera footage of this space dust being the culprit, destroying the ship. They're blaming Brian. They're like, you are a disgrace. Your negligence caused the death of an astronaut and the destruction of so much money worth of, NASA parts. You're going off book now. Get out of NASA. So then he gets fired. His wife leaves him. His kid hates him. He's now like this drunkard who is really just scraping by and struggling. For some reason, the whole trial was public and he's insisting he was innocent. It was this very strange technological space dust that just fucking flew through like a fart. And he traced it back to a corner, like a quarter of the moon called like Mars Capri Sun or something. I already forgot the name of it. But no one believed him. Everyone mocked him. He got fired. His life ruined as a result. And then we're introduced to a very important character called KC. KC is a conspiracy theorist who really cracks the code that the moon is falling out of orbit. And KC believes it's because the moon is actually a megastructure put there by aliens. So he has his own little group of conspiracy theorists that also believe in the megastructures. And he tries very hard to bring this information to NASA to let them know that the moon is out of orbit, shit's gonna get rough. So just like in Majora's Mask, the moon is coming closer to Earth, and the closer it gets to Earth, the worse it is for humans because the gravitational pull from Earth will rip apart the moon, sending all of these giant chunks into the planet, destroying pretty much everything. A doomsday event, an apocalypse. And no one's believing KC, even though he has all of the research and evidence to back it up. So eventually he turns to Twitter. And he makes an anonymous post with all of the evidence, and miraculously overnight the entire world believes him. It becomes the #1 trend, and every single news outlet everywhere is talking about it. NASA comes forward to corroborate it. Now everyone knows, yep, moon's about to fuck our shit up. So then they all try and come up with plans, and I swear to God, every character in this movie makes the stupidest decisions at every possible moment. It blew me away. It's like every character, even the ones that are supposed to be smart, like the scientists, are like lobotomized zombies. They get nothing right. None of it makes sense at all. But even suspending disbelief, you can't help but just sit there and scratch your head like there's no way they just said or did that. I'm trying to sum it up to give you the cliff notes before I start really dissecting it. So once it's been confirmed that the moon's coming to the Earth, Brian, the disgraced astronaut, teams up with Casey. They hang out for a bit, and then Halle Berry, who's still employed by NASA, just out of nowhere sends a helicopter to pick both of them up to help them defeat the moon, because now the moon's like a raid boss. So then they come up with a plan to like take an EMP device to the moon. Everyone believes them now. Also, NASA confirmed all of this and then like really figured they needed Brian's help because they sent like a crew of 3 astronauts up to check out that crater, and then the giant space dust came up in the shape of like a goddamn ringworm, and it kills all 3 of them. So then they conclude like, yep, there's something weird and wacky going on with the moon. It's got some kind of artificial intelligence living inside of it. So then that's when Brian and Casey come. My God. I really want to get deeper into it, but I want to give everyone like the full overview of the movie so you can see it. This whole movie is like taking the insanity of a Neil Breen movie, but giving it $100 million to realize the craziness. A better example for all the weebs. If you've seen Gurren Lagann, where they start like underground, and then by the end of the show, they're in space mechs throwing galaxies at each other. It's that, but for pseudoscience and conspiracies. It's fucking mind-blowing. So, Brian, Casey, Halle Berry, they're at NASA. Everyone knows Doomsday's coming, so they're all, for some reason, taking refuge in Colorado. The word Colorado must have been mentioned a million fucking times throughout this movie. This had to be just some kind of propaganda to increase tourism there or something. And also, you see Kaspersky on billboards, and apparently all of NASA is powered by Kaspersky antivirus, because every time they fire on a computer, it just says Kaspersky. And that's all there is on the screen. It's just like they look at Kaspersky and things start helping. But I keep getting too specific. Again, everyone's at NASA. They come up with a plan. They get this old EMP device that they're going to take to the moon and blow up the space worm. And this also confirms that space dust that blew up the ship that Brian was on initially were nanobots from the AI. So they've got the plan. They've got the EMP. They've now got Brian to pilot it. But something goes wrong. The moon's getting closer, so an earthquake happens, and it cracks the coolant in one of the engines, and it plays out exactly like this. I'm not exaggerating. Halle Berry and Brian go up to check out what's going on. One guy says, the coolant's leaking, and I don't know how to fix it. No one here can really fix it. And she's like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. She's like, all right, well, that's the end of the mission. I guess everyone needs to go home. So every single person at NASA, except for Halle Berry, Casey, and Brian, as well as 2 other data analysts and a couple of military guys, all leave and abandon the Earth and just like, yep, I guess we just have to accept this is the apocalypse and there's nothing we can do. Just because one of the coolants was leaking a little bit, and then the solution, I shit you not, was we'll just fly without it. Apparently the entire time they could just fly without it because the moon was close enough, and Casey knew that and then relayed the information a little late to Halle Berry, and she just didn't bother to call anyone back. She's like, all right, well, I already told them they can leave. They can go. We can do it ourselves. So then we get our heroes strapping into the spaceship, ready to take on the moon. And as the moon's getting closer, it's causing gravitational disturbances. So there's water that's getting sucked up, and it's like giant waves of water that are just standing there. And those 2 like data analysts that stayed behind that I briefly mentioned, they get evacuated. They get into a helicopter with the military people because the waves are getting closer as the moon's passing over. And I can't even believe this fucking happened. They take off with plenty of time to escape, but instead of going away from the waves, the goddamn pilot kamikazes into the waves, and it's supposed to be this emotional moment of, oh my God, there is no escape. But like you can see, when the helicopter takes off, it could have just gone right, but instead inexplicably just goes left into the waves. And I'm missing so many impressive details. Brian's son, who hates him, went to jail. Brian got him out of jail. And for some reason, the military flew Brian's son here just to be in like the middle of the shitstorm. So Brian's son's there and then needs to take off in a car away from the facility as the waves are getting closer. But instead of taking off, he goes to a mountain and parks just to check out his dad's spaceship as the waves are getting closer. So the spaceship takes off, it's beating the waves, but his son and then Halle Berry's son is also with him, and then their babysitter are all just in this car, outside of this car watching. And then eventually the kid's like, all right, now it's time to probably go, as the waves are literally like bashing the bumper of the car. It's like, okay, we've had our fun. So then they engage on this high-speed chase against the moon, and then they eventually get hunted by people that are like scavenging for parts. Oh my God, it's so much. So everything on Earth's going to shit. Gravity's all fucked up. Halle Berry, Brian, and Casey are now heading towards the moon, and it turns out the AI that inhabits the moon is attracted to electronics, but only if there's organic life inside of it. So the EMP they brought is useless because the AI won't bite it. So they're using it like bait and trying to fish with it. But for some reason, it needs to be inside of it. They don't explain why. The AI was circling it and like playing patty cake with the EMP, and they didn't blow it up for no reason. They just concluded that it needs to be inside. So they get the EMP back and go deeper in the moon. And it turns out the moon is actually a Dyson sphere built by aliens, confirming Casey's theory that also happens to grow potatoes inside of it for some reason. And it's a Dyson sphere encapsulating a white dwarf that it's using for its power source. And the AI is sapping the power from the white dwarf. And then the AI gets alerted to the crew that's in the spaceship that's flying around. And then a door opens in the Dyson sphere as the AI is tracking them. And it shuts, closing out the AI and then saving the crew. And then it turns out that the Dyson sphere wasn't built by just any aliens. It was built by ancient humans, and they communicate to Brian through celestial beams and flashbacks of his son talking to him, kind of like in Mass Effect 3 where the Reapers take on the body of a child. They did that for Brian in order to talk to him. It was a sentient AI being, like it was an AI construct for the Dyson sphere. It was built by humans that billions of years ago were spacefaring, hyper-advanced technological superstars. And eventually they created an AI that turned on them via kind of like Skynet, and it made all of them go extinct. But before their final extinction, they built giant moons that they would toss out to corners of the universe to try and remake humanity elsewhere. And this just happened to be the last surviving one, the only one the AI couldn't find until this movie. So that's the explanation there. Eventually they upgrade the EMP, the AI construct on the moon, like turbocharges the EMP, then gets some defense systems going that just start shooting bullets at the AI, and then they're escaping the moon. Casey blasts open the hatch with himself inside because he says, an organic being needs to be with the technology in order for the AI to bite me. And he's like, oh my god, Casey's gonna die. Brian and Halle Berry are upset, and Casey's like, no, it's fine. So the AI starts eating him, and he's like, you underestimated us, blows up the EMP, and then, Casey's dead, AI's gone now, so the moon is back. So then the moon leaves Earth, and now it's just this giant Dyson sphere that is now outside of Earth, and everyone's happy. Earth's super fucked, everything flooded, everything got absolutely destroyed, but there's still some people left, and now the moon's our friend again. And, yeah, that's not where it ends. So Casey didn't actually fully die. The AI construct on the moon installation actually copied his consciousness into their database, and now Casey has become the moon itself. And the last line is, we have work to do, which hints at expanding the universe and bringing all of the other AI that is still out there into the fold. And my god, I can't wait to see a sequel. I pray there is one, because this was amazing. I am not even doing this justice with my brief explanation. I need to get into the nitty-gritty of it to tell you just how fucking off the wall this shit was. So the billion-year-old humans, they basically just created Halo. They just stole Halo's plot for a little bit. The installations they made back then were Halo rings. They all lived on Halo rings. And the AI they made, for some reason, turned on them like Cortana. Almost in the same fashion. They deemed that humans weren't worth saving and that they were inferior to them, and just started wiping them out inexplicably. Like, this movie is fucking incredible. Like, the visuals were kind of cool. Like, you always like to see those big budget disaster visuals. And when they'd have the moon peeking over the Earth, it looked cool. And they had awesome lines such as, watch out, the moon is rising. And then all of a sudden, like, boats would be flying overhead. Fucking manatees falling onto the ground. Oh my god, it was so good. And there was, like, an advertisement for a Lexus. Because when there was these people, the scavengers that were hunting down the son, eventually the son meets up with Brian's wife and her new husband that cucked him or whatever. And they're on this high-speed chase, and they can't get away, right? These scavengers, they're so fast, and they want their oxygen tanks. And they're in a Lexus, and they keep zooming in on the Lexus and like throwing it, drifting around. And the dad goes, hold on, I'm putting this into warp speed. And they zoom in on the Lexus logo, and then him turning from economy mode to sport mode, and then it fucking turbocharges and goes wild. Then they're able to outrun him. This movie, man, is actual fucking genius. Like, I can't talk enough about it. Every single moment of this movie, when you think they've run out of stupid juice, finds another way to make it even dumber. And I couldn't appreciate it more. I loved it. I fucking loved it. I don't even know how you make a movie this dumb. On accident, too. Like, this isn't a self-aware movie. There is no self-awareness in this movie at all. There's a couple of jokes, but they're not like self-aware jokes. They're just like general, decently written jokes. But nothing is self-aware. It really takes itself super seriously, and I love that about it. The best kind of bad movie is one where the director really wanted to do something special but just didn't have the talent or the vision to realize it. And this is one of those cases. It is, in every possible department, the best way to make a bad movie. It is the worst and goofiest movie in all of the right ways. I just don't think you could make a movie this stupid on purpose. This movie was just an amazing experience. This was something truly special. If you like bad, shitty movies, this is the movie to go see. This is going to be 2022's best stupid movie, I think. It would be tough to beat this one. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because I've had a smile on my face ever since leaving the theater. There's still so much more I could talk about with this movie. I've barely even scratched the surface of lunacy with Moonfall. But it just, without you having seen the movie, it's not going to make as much sense. And sense is a word that is blasphemous to even use in the same sentence as Moonfall. That word never once crossed the mind of anyone who touched the script for this. The whole movie just felt like it was kids going and then trying to one-up each other. Nothing connects logically. Obviously, nothing here is mathematically, scientifically accurate, or even common sense accurate. Like, everything is wrong in the perfect ways. Like, for example, they're able to find everyone in the world just because. So, like, when they find Brian and Casey, they're in, like, this fucking random hotel somewhere, and somehow they just get found because. Or, like, the family is trekking through snow at the very end, and somehow they just make it to where they need to be without dying along the way and then get found. Like, everything, it just happens because fuck it. And I love that about it. It's so shameless in its horribleness. It was amazing. Just an incredible experience that I wanted to talk about a little bit. That's about it. See ya. Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of the best shows ever made. Avatar: The Last Airbender, the movie, is one of the worst movies ever made, and it's significantly worse than you remember it being. When this movie came out, everyone couldn't wait to drop their trousers and take a fat shit on it, just plant the steaming load, because the movie's terrible, so it deserves all the insults and all of the scathing reviews it received. But yesterday, Andrew and I decided to take a bath in the M. Night Shyamalan septic tank and watch this film. It's the first time he'd seen it, and second time for me. I first saw it in 2016 because I'm a bad movie enthusiast, and I wanted to taste the forbidden fruit of the Avatar movie. I'd always heard how horrible it was, and I didn't see it when it first came out in 2010, so I went back to just experience it, and it was miserable. But after watching it yesterday again, I swear to God, M. Night Shyamalan himself has gone back into the movie to change things around to make them even worse. The movie is progressively getting stinkier. I felt like I entered an alternate dimension where the Avatar: The Last Airbender movie was somehow even worse than it was in 2010. I didn't remember half of these scenes being as atrocious as they were, and it hasn't been that long since I saw it. It was shocking, and I don't say this lightly, but I do believe this is one of the worst films ever made. Yes, it is worse than The Room when it comes to its dialogue. The dialogue in this film actually does sound like it was written by Tommy Wiseau if he had just hit 50 whippets in his car. It is baffling that this somehow ended up in a big budget film. And I think it's worse than any student film, any indie film. It's worse than fucking YouTube Halo 3 machinimas. It is unbelievably terrible in every possible department. It's extremely obvious nobody on the production side ever watched the Avatar show because they get the pronunciation of every single name wrong. They don't even call him the Avatar. They call him the Avatar. and everyone already knows this, but his name's not Aang in the movie, it's Ong. Sokka is Sokka. Everything is wrong. It's like they just read a Wikipedia article about the Avatar show and then tried to make a movie off it based on 3 sentences, like a plot synopsis. I can't even wrap my head around how it ended up like this. It tries to cover a lot from the Avatar show. It goes all the way up to the moon spirit, starting from literal bottom, starting from the very beginning. In an hour and 40 minutes, it goes from freeing Aang from the water tribe area all the way up to the moon spirit. And nothing makes sense.
Never have a normal life. That I could never have a family. They said it cannot work with the responsibilities of the Avatar.
Why can't the Avatar have a family?
I asked that.
I wanted to show quite a few scenes from this movie while I talked about it to make my points, but I just don't want to take the chance of any copyright violations or anything like that, because God already knows M. Night Shyamalan will get the fucking copyright benders out here and fuck me up. So I'm only going to show bits and pieces here, but here's just an example of a conversation in this movie. It's like 2 Skyrim NPCs malfunctioning anytime characters talk to each other. They don't have conversations. They just vomit out plot synopsis. Just random sentences from the Wikipedia article about, like, Chapter 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender show. They don't actually talk to each other. And it's also filmed super weird, as you'll see here, where it's like a zoom in on their face, like as if it's under a microscope. Like, I can see every pore on Ong's face here. Why is it such like a hyper close-up? As if I'm trying to, like, look at his DNA, like, get down to an atomic level on him. It's shot so poorly. And they turn Katara into a goddamn trivia bot. All she does is say, like, general things about the world at random and ask the dumbest questions of all time. Like, this is a really small excerpt here as an example. When she's on screen, all she's gonna do is monotone ask a question to whoever's near her. It's like she's lobotomized, and all she can do is just ask silly questions. It's like she's Clippy from Microsoft XP, who just keeps popping up with a question that you just don't even understand why it's being asked. I don't know why she's even in the movie, because she doesn't do anything. And I don't mean that as an exaggeration. She doesn't do anything besides ask questions sometimes or appear emotionless and say something general about what's going on. For example, there's a scene where Ong runs away, and her and Sokka hear him running away, so they both get up out of bed and they say, "Ong's running away." And Katara says, "He's running away, but he'll probably be back." And that's it. That's like the only thing she contributes to the film in every scene, is just saying things that everyone can already see, or asking questions that are either already being answered or have no place in the film in the first place. She doesn't even waterbend. There's only 3 scenes, I believe, where she's waterbending. 2 of them she fails. Well, 4 actually. The 4th scene, they forgot to use special effects, so she's like bending water, but they didn't put any special effects, so it's just like a calm river underneath her while Ong's looking impressed. So I imagine what was supposed to happen is she was supposed to be like lifting water up, but they just forgot to add that. So 4 scenes where she's supposed to be waterbending. One of them, they didn't even add the effects, and then the other scene is she just gets hit by fire. So in the first 2 scenes, the waterbending fails. The last scene at the very end of the movie, where she's facing off against Zuko, she makes 2 water barriers, blocks 1 fireball, gets hit and knocked out. That's it. That's like the last time we see her. She doesn't do anything. I don't even know why she's here. She's just a fucking punching bag. And Sokka, I can't even imagine what M. Night Shyamalan told the actor to do, because when he's on screen, he just looks like he's always on the verge of tears. Like, he's always so serious, and he only has one look in this entire movie. He's like Derek fucking Zoolander. All he does is when he's on screen, he does this. Forever. He doesn't fight. He doesn't contribute anything. He doesn't even really talk. He doesn't make jokes like Sokka does in the show. He is nothing. He is a fucking android that is malfunctioning. Like, you would expect for a big budget movie like this, they would hire actors that actually wanted to be there, but I felt like all of them were just counting down till they could go home. None of them even tried, except for Zuko. Zuko is actually played by a really talented actor named Dave Patel. He's the only one that even gives a fuck in this film, but even he is dog shit here. But he's the only one that I could see was even trying to act. The other ones just sound like they're voice acting on Disney Junior.
How'd you get all the way out here?
I ran away from home. We got in a storm. We were forced under the water of the ocean.
Oh, I see.
Wow.
It wasn't very smart. was just upset.
They're just literally explaining a plot summary of the show.
Yeah. With about the same delivery as me reading it in my head. The way the characters deliver their lines sounds about as enthusiastic as I do when I wait in line at the DMV and then have to fill out some shit. Like, they just seem so unbelievably bored to be there. And the movie, the most criminal thing about the movie is just how boring it is. Because like I said, they try and covered a lot from the Avatar show in a short amount of time. Thus, the majority of the movie comes out exactly like what you just saw, where they're just vomiting plot summary at each other with nothing else happening. Now, this film had a $150 million budget, so you would expect with that much money behind it, at least the fighting and the effects would look good. No. It's made in Adobe After Effects, it feels like, or Sony Vegas. Like, it's fucking trash. Look at this.
Oh my lord! Here it is!
Yeah.
Yeah!
Whoa! Watch out! This is an actual scene in the final cut of the film. Fucking 10 earthbenders doing an interpretive dance in order to summon a small pebble and slowly push it towards their opponent. This is actually the scene out of Austin Powers when he's in the fucking steamroller and slowly about to run over that guy. And he just keeps screaming. That's the action in this entire movie. It's just people standing there waiting to slowly be hit by something, whether it's a small pebble from the earthbenders or a slight gust of wind from Ong. He doesn't use any cool airbending. Like, when Ong is fighting, he is summoning, like, actual puffs of wind. Like, as much wind as I generate just blowing out. That's what you see on screen for the fights. It's so fucking bad. Also, firebenders can't generate flames on their own in this movie. They need a fire source nearby. So the whole film falls apart at the end, where they could just extinguish the flames around the city and the firebenders would be powerless. Because the waterbenders could just throw water on all the torches that light up their city, and the firebenders wouldn't be able to fight back. Because for some fucking reason, M. Night Shyamalan decided to completely change how the bending works for them. So they needed a nearby fire source. Thus, the whole thing could have been avoided by just... If they just said, oh, here's the Fire Nation coming in. Alright, extinguish those torches. Then they're worthless. The film is so unbelievably silly.
That's the M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Oh, it's just like Lord of the Rings.
It is. It's as memorable and good, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't feel like writing a speech or a line, so he just said, go up there and make a noise. That right there is the only good piece of dialogue where one of the guys just goes up and instead of giving a speech just goes, because they just decided not to write dialogue or anything inspirational. Just this random fucking dude goes up there and just makes a goofy noise. That's about as much effort as that went into the entire film. That's the perfect summary of this film. Just go up there and do whatever. I don't care. I got paid a lot of money to make an Avatar movie, but I don't feel like doing any amount of work to make it good. This movie is beyond bad. This movie is like getting a colonoscopy while wide awake for it. It is painful. M. Night Shyamalan's known for his twists in movies, and the biggest twist about the Avatar movie was that it was the worst fucking thing you'll ever see in your life. So if you like the show, get ready to get slapped in the face. It is so much worse than I remembered it being, and it hasn't been that long since I've seen it. It is so fucking bad, and I've only scratched the surface. I wanted to do a really in-depth dive on it, but I just don't really want to risk like a copyright violation or anything, so I'm gonna refrain from doing that. I'm just giving you the general basis on why it's so bad and what makes it so awful. There is not a single moment in this entire film that is even remotely interesting or well done. There is no character besides Zuko that even tries a little bit. And even Zuko, who's by far the best performer in this film, does an awful job. Because I really feel like M. Night Shyamalan told everyone to do terrible. Like, go out there and give it your absolute worst take. Andrew made a good point. He said Shyamalan probably just took the 70th take of each scene so all the actors were exhausted. That's the only explanation for how it ended up so bad, and how every single character in here is so poorly done. It makes no sense that this fucking film is in the state that it's in. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit since I rewatched it yesterday. That's about it. See ya. It's pretty rare that I see a movie that's so abominable, so atrocious, that I actually feel embarrassed for even having wasted my time watching it, and that phenomenon just happened with the new horror film Tarot. I was squirming in my seat. I was getting so mad at what I was watching. Like, I was steaming. My body performed an involuntary gesture of shaking my fist. Actually got him with a why I oughta. I was fuming. I started fucking Fortnite emoting in anger. That's how bad this movie was. So it's got a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, which sounds about right. And I knew going into it was going to be irredeemable garbage because it is written and directed by one of the 3 writers of Moonfall. I sing the praises of Moonfall at least once every couple months. It is one of my favorite films of all time because it is objectively one of the most dog shit films ever produced, but in the most entertaining way possible. I think it is a masterpiece disaster of a film. It is so trash that it becomes immaculate. So I love Moonfall, and Spencer Cohen, who helped write Moonfall, wrote and directed Tarot. So I knew this had no chance of being good. But I didn't expect it to be this bad, like mind-numbingly bad, in a way that sucked all of the joy out of the room. Watching this film was like a Dementor sucking my soul out for the entire hour and a half that it played. Now, of course, it was basically an empty auditorium because no one cares about this movie. No one's really, fucking jumping out of their seats to be first in line for tickets to Tarot. But it was a pretty much empty theater. And man, I was embarrassed to just be there watching it. And it was painfully obvious that all of the actors in the movie were embarrassed to be there as well. It seemed like they were ashamed that they accepted the paycheck to appear in Tarot. None of them tried at all. Especially Jacob Batalon. You probably know him as Ned in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's in this film, and oh my god, it felt like he was giving the most sarcastic performance ever. Like, all the material he was given to work with is all really shittily written, but he took it and made it like a complete flat joke throughout the entire film in a way that I think was him just giving like a subtle wink and a nod to the audience that he knows that this is a bad movie he's in. To give you an example of what I mean, Jacob, while he's being hunted by the scary clown, is trapped in an elevator, and the clown's doing his like scary routine, which ends up kind of looking like it was more of like a flash mob that the clown was doing. It wasn't even scary, it just went on for so long of him doing different bad dance moves. It's like it was trying to mimic my choreography that they see me bust out at the club, which is horrifying, no doubt, but here, in this context, man, it is so stupid and goofy. So the clown's doing all that choreography as the elevator doors are closing and opening, and Jacob's character is just going, ah, 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 almost exactly like that, until eventually the clown ambushes him and he goes, ah. He just couldn't even be bothered to pretend to care at all about the performance. Like, unironically, Matt and I's acting in our green screen merch shoots is better than anything you'll find in Tarot. And I really think that's because the actors were probably so deflated once they got the material to work with, they were probably like, oh boy. Oh, brother, this guy stinks. Damn it, Steven, you've swindled me into this one. But they've already signed the contract, so now they have to commit and continue. So anyway, let's get into like the meat of the movie. It's about as generic as you will ever see in the horror movie genre. And I mean that in the truest sense of the word generic. It literally starts with them at an Airbnb, just as like a group of college friends just doing a getaway. We know nothing about these characters, only that one of them has a birthday and now they're at this haunted little Airbnb. And they happen to find this box of tarot cards, and our main character is really big into astrology. So she does this tarot card reading for the entire group using these really creepy cards that are hand-painted tarot cards, and she goes through all their signs, like, oh, you're a Capricorn, you're a, Leo, so this, that, and she gives them all their horoscope readings. And I really feel like Steven, or whoever helped them with this movie, must just be big into TikTok astrology, because it just starts borrowing a lot of things TikTok astrology enthusiasts are always talking about that's just very silly stuff, like, if you use someone else's tarot cards, oh boy howdy, you better brace for a bad time. Or, the most powerful combination of divination is using tarot card readings on top of I already forgot, a wet blanket. I forgot what the other thing was. But they mentioned that multiple times, like, doing tarot readings on top of blank is the most powerful form of divination, not to be taken lightly, type shit. So it feels like this was made for TikTok Zoomers almost, But even they, I think, are going to be extraordinarily bored by this film because it is not scary and it's just really, really dumb. I think these are the stupidest characters I have ever seen in a horror film, and I do not say that lightly, especially with horror films like Wish Upon and Slender Man. I think the characters in this movie are even stupider, if you can believe that. Now anyway, she gives everyone their horoscope readings, and it turns out that the deck is cursed. There was, back in the 1700s, a woman who was wronged and decided to place a curse upon those tarot cards where she took her own life, and now anyone that uses those tarot cards and does a horoscope will be cursed and die from it. So the horoscope readings that she was giving are starting to come true in twisted ways. So for example, one of the readings was, you'll make some money, your financial situation will improve, but then don't follow the hermit because he might lead you down the wrong track. And it turns out he gets visited by the hermit after winning $700 from a lottery scratch-off, and the hermit starts chasing him around the subway station until eventually he falls onto some train tracks and gets hit by a train. So it's like the worst diet Final Destination concept imaginable. So now they're all being hunted by their horoscope here, and they're getting killed by it, and it's so underwhelming. Oh my god, it is pitiful, the attempts that they try and make here to scare the audience. Like, there's a couple of jump scare attempts, but I feel like maybe that was like a little icky for Spencer, so he's like, no, that's too loud, that frightened me. Tone that down a bit. So not even the jump scares are enough to frighten or startle anyone, because they're not even like loud or anything, and they're not even like startling, as weird as that is to say. For example, one of their jump scare attempts, they have one of the evil creatures lurking, and he pokes his head out in front of where this girl was hiding, but it's like completely muted. It's like super muted. So it's like in slow motion. And I know it's supposed to be a jump scare because then it kicks on the music right after that happens. But like it completely missed the timing of the jump scare. And that can be said about a lot of things in this movie. So Jacob's character, his name is Paxton. He's supposed to be the comic relief character, and he draws the Fool card, so that's why he gets hunted down by the evil clown. And his jokes are the worst timed jokes ever. Like, the comedic timing in this film is non-existent. Like, anytime Paxton is going to make a joke where he's like, yo, you guys are fucking, I gotta go, well, I can't think of anything he said, actually. That's about par for the course for Taro. Just had myself a Jimmy Neutron brain blast. I remember one of his jokes was, as they're doing the tarot card readings, she's asking, who wants to come up next? And he goes, I'll go to the bathroom, and then walks by her. And like, that's like the timing of that scene right there. It's so bad. And then like the whole group laughs at him like, Paxton, you got her. Oh, fried. Nice. Like, that's the level of humor they try and insert in here. It sucks. It super sucks. Oh my god. Like, everything in this movie fails. Like, all of it falls so flat on its fucking face. It's almost impressive how they couldn't even accidentally get something as simple as a jump scare right. So anyway, let's talk about why I actually started getting heated, because usually these kind of things I'd find to be like fun bad and maybe even a little bit charming, but this one was actually just making me upset. So they figure out early on that those tarot card readings that were done is most likely what's killing them. So like, the birthday girl dies, she falls off a ladder after her prediction was she climbs a ladder, but be careful because there might be a crushing blow from the high priestess to, do this and that, and she dies by falling off the ladder. And then the high priestess, which looks like some kind of Party City costume that was trying to emulate like the nurse from Dead by Daylight, comes out and starts hitting her with a ladder, and she dies. And then after that was the guy who got hit by the train from the hermit, and they're like, oh, that's interesting, they're all dying kind of the same way the horoscopes said. Weird. That's probably the cause. And all of them except for one guy immediately buy into it, but they still go and visit like this old lady who they found through a Google search. The most stereotypical horror movie cliche ever. Just like a random old lady who is just the exposition vomiter. She just is present because the writer wasn't able to figure out a way to convey this story in a way that made sense. That they just have this random character that knows everything, so she explains to them and the audience exactly what's going on. And all the characters confirm, like, okay, that's 100% what's going on. Now we know. So in the readings, she kind of says, like, what you need to do to avoid being killed. Like, maybe don't follow the hermit's light because it might lead you down the wrong track. So basically it would be, all right, don't let that light scare you and lead you in different directions, and he wouldn't have fallen onto the train track, that kind of thing. So they all know this now. It's the horoscopes. And they're all very well aware of what their predictions were what her predictions were because one of the girls actually filmed her prediction. And their car breaks down, and the prediction was, technology might stop working, but don't be alarmed, just sit tight. There's no reason to run away, because else you might find yourself hanging. That kind of thing. Her card was the hangman. So the car breaks down on this bridge, and the girl is remembering, like, oh, okay, I need to not panic, and I need to not run away. But then, like, on, like, the glass, the hangman draws a hangman, and she's like, ah! Opens the door and starts running. The thing that they just reminded her and herself reminded herself of to not run, she immediately does in this inexplicable panic when what was just established seconds prior is to just sit tight and wait it out. And then she just fucking freaks out, starts running, and then ends up getting caught by the hangman and hangs. And then, even after that, Paxton, who now knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that all he needs to do to survive is to not do what the horoscopes said. And his horoscope was, don't be bullheaded and make rash decisions. And then after that hanging thing, the group gets together and he's like, I'm gonna go back to the apartment, fuck you guys, this is very, well, it's PG-13, he doesn't say fuck you guys, he's like, poopy to you guys, this is a bunch of baloney, I'm not gonna be caught, out and about because it puts me at risk, so I'm gonna go back to the apartment. They're like, no, listen, Paxton, you're being bullheaded. That means you're gonna die if you go through with this. You are being bullheaded. Remember with the horoscope reading? And he's like, patooey, I'm going this way. I'm gonna be bullheaded. You don't know what you're talking about. Even though, minutes ago, he just witnessed what happened when you, it's crazy. It's actually crazy. It's like every character here is like Drew Barrymore in 50 First Dates. They just keep forgetting things that have just happened. So he goes being bullheaded, and what do you know? He gets attacked by the evil clown, the Fool. I actually was so mad. I had no reason to be as mad as I was, but it really felt like Spencer himself was just giving the middle finger to the whole auditorium, like, you guys are stupid for paying money for this, ha ha ha. Like, he was the ultimate evil tarot card slapped on the table here. Like, we just saw these characters describe in detail exactly what not to do, and then two characters do exactly what both of them said they will not do immediately. One of them, I guess you could write off because they got really afraid and frightened, so they stopped thinking rationally. I think that's a lame excuse for it. But Paxton, he was cool, calm, and collected, and then still just said, alright, I'm gonna go die anyway. Like, huh? Like, there's so many things I could really pick apart here, but who gives a fuck? No one's seeing this movie anyway. I know none of you watching this had any interest in it, but man, this one is actually worse than Imaginary and Night Swim. I didn't think we'd find any horror movies for the rest of the year that would compete with those, but man, this one does it. This one actually does it. It is worse than both of those films. Leave it to one of the Moonfall writers to strike a new low in the horror genre of all things. I didn't even know it was possible. But I will talk about one more thing in the movie, because it was another thing that just got me heated. So that old woman that I mentioned earlier, well, eventually the crew goes back to that house to get the tarot cards, because they eventually deduce that, hey, if we destroy the tarot cards, we probably break the curse. So they go there, get the cards, try and burn the cards don't burn. They're like, oh! They do like a fucking Mr. Beast thumbnail shock. And they're like, okay, let's call the old woman. Which, I guess that's a fine idea. But you know what happened like 30 minutes before that? They tried to call that old woman, and it turns out her phone doesn't work. Like, it just goes straight to voicemail because her phone doesn't exist anymore, which is why they drove to her fucking house and snuck up on her in the middle of the night, because she doesn't have a phone that works. Yet somehow, during this moment, not only were they able to call that old woman with a phone that didn't exist or didn't work, but she shows up instantly. She literally Goku instant transmissions to the front door there in a matter of seconds, even though it took them like an entire day to drive themselves to her previously. Like, this is just such a poorly made movie from top to bottom. Nobody gave a shit at all. Like, I don't know what you were thinking with this one, Spencer. I really don't. Moonfall is a beautiful disaster. This one is a tragic disaster. It's so shit. So the old woman shows up, and I'm like, okay, she's going to be like really helpful here. She's going to be instrumental. So she sets up like this ritual where she was going to reverse the tarot card readings to try and flip it on the evil entity the old woman who was wronged and cursed the deck. And as she's doing it, the old woman immediately just gets possessed, like she gets force choked by the evil entity and then stabbed with 6 swords. Because the evil entity did a tarot card reading on her where she drew the 6 swords card, whatever the fuck that is. And she's like, uh-oh, whoops-a-daisy. So then literally force grabbed and then drops her corpse with 6 swords in it in the middle of like the hallway. And that was the entire role of the old woman. That's it. She showed up just to get stabbed 6 times and contribute nothing. So eventually our main character's like, what if I get a horoscope reading for the evil entity? And like, yeah, that kind of makes sense if you turn your brain off. Why would that work? It's her tarot cards. She is the curse. If she doesn't want to curse herself, she won't. It doesn't matter if you do a horoscope reading. She is the tarot cards. But anyway, she does this reading on the evil entity, and she draws death as the final card. And the entity looks down, I shit you not, as she's strangling the main character. She looks down and goes... and then immediately just gets fucking deatomized. So somehow her reading also killed her, even though she is the reading. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And it's even more criminally trash with the way that it wraps itself up, because it turns out Paxton didn't die. So Paxton cruises up in his car in the middle of the night after they defeat the evil entity by giving her a horoscope reading. And he's like, hey guys, I'm like actually totally fine. I was trying to reach you guys. You guys weren't answering. What's up with that? And they're like, how did you survive? And he's like, oh yeah, my roommate opened the elevator door and like scared the jester away. He thought it was like super weird. He was like really wondering what was going on with me. Like, okay, so that's how you beat it? Like, you could just have your roommate come up and, like, throw the whole thing into disarray? Like, it's all cattywampus? Like, the whole curse doesn't work if there's a witness to it all of a sudden? Like, what? That seems like the easiest thing to do. Like, you probably wouldn't even need to turn the curse around on the evil entity. You could just have his goofy-ass roommate follow you around and save you every time. It's just so dumb. The movie was so fucking bad. Oh, I can't wait to see what else Spencer works on, because man, he's got a really incredible batting average here with terrible trash movies. Anyway, I think 5% for this movie is about what I'd give it on the Moist Meter too. I have to agree with Rotten Tomatoes on this one. 5% for Tarot, absolutely accurate. What a bad film. That's about it. See ya.